I still remember back in high school something my American history teacher said in passing about artists. It was just an idle comment, an observation he had made as we scanned past some early American folk art in our textbook, in between lectures on more important subjects. I don't remember the name of the artwork or the artist, but I remember my teacher said something along these lines. You can tell the really great artists from the amateur ones by the hands. The great artist, the hands are just perfect. The amateur, the hands are just kind of roughed in. The proportions aren't right. At the time, if you had asked me, I wouldn't have considered myself an artist. I definitely couldn't draw hands. But what he said stuck with me, for some reason, long after the finer details of American history class faded from memory. Years later, when I started taking art seriously, I remembered that idle comment my American history teacher had made about great artists in their hands. And I became determined that, somehow, I would learn how to draw a hand. The secret, as it turns out, to drawing hands is not so mysterious. You have to practice. A lot. And I did. I drew hands. And I drew them again and again and again. I sketched hands in ballpoint pen. I sketched hands in graphite pencil and charcoal. I drew hands making shushing gestures, hands holding newspapers. I drew hands doing whatever that is. I even drew hands making rude gestures. As it turns out, I'm not the only artist determined to get hands right. Before human beings had even invented the written word, primitive artists were creating art with their bare hands on cave walls. The earliest known art created by human beings dates to at least 40,000 BC. And some examples may be even older. And although these examples encompass geographically diverse locations, including Spain, Indonesia, and Argentina, they all share common themes of hunting, animals, and, you guessed it, hands. The works you see here were created by blowing pigment onto the cave walls, using their own hands as stencils. Each hand you see here is from a different individual over several generations. It reminds me in a way of the hand imprints that children make in kindergarten. I find it fascinating that after tens of thousands of years, the same primitive desire exists to leave our handprint behind. In the Renaissance, DaVinci's keen observation and study of external human anatomy informed his now famous portrait work. Later, DaVinci's desire to accurately portray the anatomy of the hand and other body parts led him to participate in a number of dissections to better understand the form and function of the human body. Da Vinci's discoveries continue to inform our understanding of the human body today. I think people tend to forget that widespread adult literacy is a relatively recent phenomenon. In times of general illiteracy, visual media was a powerful communication tool. Thus, historical art is rich in symbolism, including a wide variety of hand gestures. Hands guided the viewer's eye to divinity and the heavens, inspired reverence, encouraged piety, celebrated the bonds of matrimony and fidelity, symbolized fertility, and established divine authority. Here, in Albrecht Dürer's self-portrait, the posture of the hands and Dürer's direct gaze recall contemporaneous depictions of Christ, suggesting that Dürer may have believed his artistic skill was God-given. Some depictions of hands, however, like this Dürer sketch entitled Self-Portrait with a Pillow, defy explanation. We know this sketch was a study for a later painting entitled Self-Portrait with a Thistle, but your guess is as good as mine about why there is a random pillow there. Maybe he was just trying to conserve paper. I don't know. Which brings us to arguably the single most famous depiction of hands in art history, Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel. Here, Michelangelo depicts the biblical story of the creation of Adam, forever immortalizing the moment where the outstretched hand of God sparks life in Adam. Many scholars have noted the correlation between the folds of material enclosing God and the structural anatomy of the brain. This suggests that Michelangelo had some familiarity with the anatomy and physiology of the human brain, and that he understood that the human brain was the seat of consciousness. I would take this interpretation one step further. I find it significant that it is the touch of God's hand that provides the critical spark of life in Adam. After all, many animals on Earth are quite intelligent. Some animals may even be as intelligent as humans. There is something else then, beyond intelligence, that separates us from other intelligent life on Earth. Our hands. Our hands allow us to build fires, make tools, construct buildings and cities, and, of course, make art. Hands are required to realize our intentions and manifest that spark of creativity in our brains, which, I think, is reason enough to learn to draw them. Oh, by the way, one hand gesture I forgot to mention that you should know: the thumbs up. So make sure to like this video before you leave. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.